Bitcoin is close to becoming worthless.
Let's go. Now, what's the Bitcoin?
Bitcoin's like rat poison.
Yeah. Oh,
The greatest scam in history.
let's get it.
Bitcoin will go to fucking zero.
Yeah.
Welcome back to another Confab episode. Today is a bit of a rush, so I'm going to do this intro as quick as I can and in one take. Today's episode is with Business Cat. Business Cat is the co-host of Rock Paper Bitcoin with our good friend Fundamentals. He's the founder of the Central PA Bitcoin Meetup, and he's the world-leading pole shift influencer. It was the first time we've had a proper conversation. He had some really interesting points. We talked about all things, but the main topic was pole shift, what could be coming, what has previously happened, and how you can prepare. Before we start, I want to say a big thank you to everyone who's been sending in boosts, XMR chats, questions, and generally getting involved with the Ungovernable Misfits crew. I have some boosts to read from the last episode with Random Nim from MYNYMBOX. If you haven't already listened to that episode, definitely go back and have a listen. It's made me rethink my setup, and there's some really good advice, not just around hosting, but on business, flag theory, and a lot of other things that people might want to start considering. First up is Late Stage Hodl with 5,000 sats. Great conversation. I appreciate listening to Jarl's perspective. But Max, I think you are actually speaking to John McAfee. I hate to dox him, but it appears he needs to use something to disguise his voice, or people are going to figure it out. Maybe. Chad Farrow streamed 1,730 sats. AIBLE sent 100 sats and a prayer emoji. Riven Stokes. Interesting. Always wondered if these companies are using Insta background swapping services when accepting cryptos. Turkey sent 500 sats. Pies said, I used to like using Cake Wallet until they added Dogecoin. That was crossing the line with me. Can you guys please explain why your sponsor added Doge and still wants people to take them seriously? Yeah, fair enough. I mean, if it's not for you, it's not for you. It doesn't bother me personally. There are much worse options out there than Doge. It's not something I have any interest in at all, but you don't have to use it. Pies again, with a salute. Henry said, great interview, but I don't understand why you all insist on using Monero when there is Lightning. For example, I boosted the last episode 5,678 sats and only I seem to know about it. It really is hard to beat that for privacy, so I do have some more information for Kerem. I hope he might find interesting. However, I will email you about it, as I bet this boost doesn't bloody well work either. Hello, Henry. Tam Tam Bam with 210 sats. Boss Show, Max, MYNYMBOX is right in line with my thinking at the moment, and the finer details of your discussion very revealing. Put a donk on it. Big love. I don't know what that means. Put a donk on it. But thanks to the big love and the sats. Business Cat also streamed 280 sats. There we go. Full circle. Right, before we start, I also just want to say thank you to our amazing sponsors. As they were just mentioned, MYNYMBOX. They've been sponsoring the show for coming up to 3 months now. It's been really good getting to know Random Nim a little bit more and having conversations behind the scenes as well. I get a very, very clear picture that he is aligned and doing things properly. If you haven't already reached out to them, if you're considering using their services, or if you have any questions, you can reach out to me and we can go through them. But I very strongly suggest at least reaching out and speaking, seeing if there's something they can do for you. So it's MYNYMBOX dot. What is the dot? Let me just check. Oh, I was going to do this in one take as well. MYNYMBOX. MYNYMBOX.net, apparently. Okay. So yeah, check out MYNYMBOX.net. Thank you also to Foundation. Foundation have been our longest sponsor. It's something that I use every single day. My passport, I absolutely love it. It's so simple to use. It's beautifully designed. Obviously an incredible team. You know the score. Zach, Q, and many others in the ungovernable sphere work in and around it. It's just nice to have something that works with a team that cares, that's fully open source. And if you haven't already used one, go to foundation.xyz and you can use the code ungovernable for, I think, $10 off. It also lets them know that I'm shilling. So many times people reach out to me and they're like, oh yeah, I just bought a passport, or I just suggested to a friend to buy a passport. And do they use the code? No. You're leaving sats on the table here, guys. Foundation.xyz. Finally, a big thank you to Cake Wallet. Even if Pies doesn't like it because of Doge, it is still my preferred wallet, certainly for anything to do with Monero. I love that they have swaps, Cake Pay, features like connecting to your own node and fallback nodes. Things are very granular with them. The design is nice. They're constantly iterating. They're constantly supporting other projects in the space. They're supporting us. If you haven't already checked them out, go to cakewallet. I've got to check this one as well. You can tell I'm rusty. Cakewallet.com. A classic. I like a .com. Simple, classic, beautiful. Cakewallet.com. Check them out and enjoy the show. Business Cat, the man, the myth, the legend. We finally get to speak.
How are you, man?
I'm very excited. Everything is good about today. The sun is shining. I'm speaking to you. The only thing I can complain about is the coffee order was fucked up and I've got milk in my coffee, but we'll survive. Other than that, everything else is golden. How about you?
I can't complain. It's kind of cloudy here. It's raining, but it's my mother-in-law is watching my son right now too. I've got 2 kids, and yes, they're being watched, and I'm here on a podcast. Everything's great.
It's the dream.
It is. It really is. Like, podcasters are important now. Like, we're helping presidents get elected.
Yeah, we need more podcasters.
Agreed.
Well, I had your co-host, Fundamentals, on a few months ago. We were chatting about what you guys do and your interests and stuff, and he brought up, obviously, pole shift and all that kind of stuff. And I've been saying ever since that, I was like, I really need to speak to Business Cat. And I don't think we've ever spoken. You're in loads of the same groups as me and all that kind of stuff, but I don't think we've ever had a conversation, have we?
No, I don't think we have. Our Venn diagrams cross in a lot of places, but no, we've never connected. It's lovely to be here. Lovely to connect.
Yeah. So I really want to know about this pole shift stuff. And I said to Kerim yesterday, because he's like our chief editor, our master editor now. I was chatting to him about a few things yesterday, and I said that I was going to have you on, and he was like, oh, fucking can't wait for this one. I'm actually looking forward to edit it. We've got so many things in common that we think about, and his pole shift stuff's really interesting, and blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay.
Yeah, he and I connected offline. I mean, we just called each other and had a chat, and yeah, he and I agree. Like, so I listened to your episode with him, Ragnarok, and he is down a very similar rabbit hole to the one that I started going down in late November. But yeah, we'll get into all that.
We will.
Karam, seems like I think he and I should probably record something together at some point.
Do it!
I feel like we would be well suited to do that.
Definitely. He's such a fucking weird guy, but I love him to bits. He's the perfect mix of very capable and smart, but fucking weird. So he comes out with like outrageous stuff, but it's still grounded in facts. So he's always interesting to speak to. Yeah, a lot of love for him. And he's been doing all our editing and stuff for the last maybe like 4 months or something like that. So A, taking off loads of pressure, and B, like the quality of what he's putting out is so much better than any professional editor that I've tried hiring previously. Like, honestly, me and John had given up. We tried and paid for I don't know, at least 4 or 5 different people who are like, that's their job. And they were so bad, horribly bad. And then I was like at my wit's end, and I was like, who do I know who's just capable and can just do shit? I was like, right, Kerem. Yeah, it took like 2 or 3 times, then he just fucking nailed it. So shout out to you, Kerem.
He's a man of many hats.
He is, yeah, he is.
It's never occurred to me to look at hiring somebody to edit our show. So dear listeners, one of the many hats I wear is I'm one of the co-hosts of the Rock, Paper, Bitcoin podcast. I'm the producer of it. I do all the editing myself. I'm sure we could get to a point where I could outsource that to a third party, but I can't imagine leaving that, letting that outside my vest at this point.
Yeah, it's tough because you want the control and you know how you want things to be. And also, it took like 7 years before I could get to a stage where we could just about manage to pay an editor and still sort of ish break even. Like, I did like 7 years of normal 7 till 7 work, and then driving home, and then putting kids to bed, and then fucking editing all the way through the night, and then getting up just feeling like death until we could get to this point. So it is nice, but it was hard to let go of. And the same with like, I don't think you guys do live stuff yet, do you? You just do the recorded stuff.
We do not.
Yeah, that's another one that took a lot of convincing. Jordan was in my ear about it. Q&A was in my ear about it. And like, after about a year of them in my ear, I finally was like, okay, let's give it a go. And then weirdly, I'm quite happy with it being live. Like, I thought, I'm not going to have the control over things, not going to be able to edit things. What if the sound quality is not right? What if there are problems? Actually, it's quite fun. So I don't know, sometimes these things that you think you could never let go of control of is actually quite nice.
Yeah, I agree. This is getting pretty meta. We could definitely get into a whole conversation just about podcasts and production of that. But all that's to say, yeah, podcasters are saving the world. We are shining the light on the important topics
We are.
that other places are not shining the light on. And yeah, do your 40 hours, folks.
You have to. And obviously Rock Paper Bitcoin is part of that kind of, is it intellectual Silk Road it's being called?
I've heard us put in that group. I'm not going to
Yeah.
claim participation in that group. I have heard that we were part of that, yes.
Yeah, so there's very few of these incredibly high signal, zero noise, like world saving podcasts, and Rock Paper Bitcoin is one of them. So if anyone's listening and hasn't yet checked it out, you and Fundamentals are on. Is it every week, or like how often are you doing these things?
We record every other week.
Every other week.
That may change at some point. I'm starting to have a little bit more time. That was my constraint because I don't have enough of it. But I think a little bit is starting to free up. My 4-year-old daughter, she just started a homeschool co-op that she's going a couple times a week now. So
Oh, nice.
my schedule might be allowing me to get some more content production out there. We'll see.
Homeschooling, that's, I want to say, quite brave, although I know a few people who do it. Me and John have talked about this a lot. I liked the idea of it, and then I had kids, and then my idea changed very quickly. It sounds like it's quite full on. Even if it is great, is it hard work?
Yes. I mean, we're Bitcoiners. Hard work is par for the course for us.
Yeah.
Where do you want to spend your CPU cycles? I know what state education did to me.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want that to happen to my children.
Yeah, it's very true. And like a lot of the kids that I've met who are homeschooled are crazy smart. Like, so much more.
I was a state education kid, and I used to remember, like, every time I would interact with a homeschooled kid, like, boy, they're weird, because, like, they could talk and have conversations and ask follow-up questions, and it's like they weren't like kids, they were like adults.
Mhm.
And like now as a parent, it's like, oh, okay, so in the world of automation and AI we're moving into, like, what areas are safe? What areas can I like push my children at with any sort of certainty that, okay, there's a future here? And it's content production. I like to say this. What the Matrix got wrong is that humans are not batteries. We're the seeds for your random number generator. AI can never be as perfectly random as humans because they're digital. And like, as Bitcoiners know how difficult true entropy is in a digital system. And so that's a massive hobbling point for artificial intelligence. So what's a simple solution to that? Let's keep some humans as pets and let them be our seeds. And so, okay, so podcasts seem to me to be a very safe place for like direction of a child. Like, okay, you need to be an interesting enough person that people would want to listen to you. This kind of goes separate from the rest of the conversation where we're going, because kind of my viewpoint of where the world is going does not necessarily include podcasts. Podcasts are going to exist for a bit longer, but I think they may be going away, as a lot of other things that we think of are maybe going away as well. So there's a lot of considerations in raising children with what we're aware of now.
Yeah.
But that being said, like, this is why we're here. We have been put in this dimension to be fruitful and multiply. And if you're not having children, you're spinning your wheels. Like, what are you even doing here?
Yeah, I agree with all of that. Like, especially as a lot of these kids who are going into state schools and the kids that I've interacted with, especially in like the British state schools and a lot of those types, I think like a massive part that is missing is the conversational skills.
Yes.
Like conversational skills and what would you call it? Like critical thinking, almost like confidence with a lot of stuff as well. Like, I'm not that old. I'm not like John old, but I'm old enough that if I wanted to go and put a shelf up or do something that's like do a bit of plumbing or something and I couldn't do it, my mates would be like, "Oh fucking hell, come on, woman! Like, what are you doing? Why can't you Why can't you
Right.
do that?" Whereas now, like a lot of the kids, if you said like, "Oh, I've got a leak, we need to fix it," they'd be like, "Well, I need to call the man." Like, I need to call the man because the man knows and I don't know how to do this. And there's a real like disconnection from the ability to A, do things that are practical and physical and actually useful, and B, conversational skills are not great. Like, storytelling's not great. And I put myself in that group as well. Like, if I look back at, like, say, my dad and his group of friends who were like very good conversationally, but their skills at storytelling are tenfold better than my skills at storytelling. And the kids that I see coming up now compared to what I might be capable of doing are way worse again. So those are skills that are, or seem to be, like dying out, basically.
Soft skills. You can't teach soft skills, really. You just have to throw kids out in the world and let them develop them.
Yeah, you're right. You can't like go to a class and be like, make me interesting, make me practically capable. Like, my missus laughs at me all the time because whatever it is, I'm like, yeah, I can probably work that out. You know, like, oh, the floor's fucked, or there's a leak, or the roof needs fixing, or there's whatever the issue is. I'm like, yeah, I'll probably work that out. And she's like, fucking hell, yeah, you can work everything out, can you? And I'm like, kind of, because I've just tried and failed so many times, billions of times at everything, that all of those failures mean that I know kind of what not to do. And I have a very, very long list of what not to do, and then a shorter list of what to do. And when I combine the two of them, I can kind of tick through and work things out.
Yeah, I think Bitcoin is the ultimate tool for this because it really encourages people to just go do things. That's what it was for me. Let me start by giving the audience my background. So if you're not familiar with who I am, let me walk you through my quick synopsis of my life to where I am now, and then we can get into where I'm going and where I think we're going from there.
Do you know what? That's my poor podcasting skills. When I do these, I just jump on with a coffee and just as if I'm sat chatting to someone, and I haven't done an intro properly. So I apologize, audience, and I apologize, Business Cat. Let's have a little bit of a backstory about who you are.
No, I'm the same way. I like to have conversations, and I'm realizing that, we've been chatting for a while now, and I have a couple people who kind of follow me around and listen to everything I do, kind of like a small dedicated audience. And I've gotten that feedback from them before that I want to hear you talk about X, but you're just having a conversation. So about me. So I was born in Central Pennsylvania, up in the Appalachian Mountains of Central Pennsylvania. I went to the Air Force. I was in the U.S. Air Force Signals Intelligence from 2006, 2012. While I was there, that was the first time when I heard about Bitcoin, although that was the Chuck Schumer speech in 2011. He's like, there's people buying drugs on the internet with magic internet money. And it's like, I can remember that was the first time I ever heard the term Bitcoin. I got out in 2012, went to college, met my wife. And while I was in college, I had the time to learn about Bitcoin. I went to Penn State Harrisburg. Interesting. Like, it feels like a lot of things about my path made me well positioned to see Bitcoin earlier than other people. And I feel the same way about pole shift. Just a lot of the things about the path that I've walked just have put me in a position to see this earlier than other people have seen it. This is the same thing as Bitcoin, in my opinion now, that like Bitcoin is obvious. Once you see it, it's obvious. Oh, okay, then everybody's going to get this eventually, but like no government will ever hand a tool that conquers them down to their citizens. So like this is going to be a bottom-up solution. It's like we're all going to figure it out for ourselves. And the same thing like I'm really, really feeling is pole shift. Pole shift answers too many questions for it to be ignored for me personally.
Hmm.
And so back to Bitcoin. So I got out of the Air Force. I was in college. I wanted to buy weed. So I'm a vet, like 10 years older than everybody else at college. And I had to go to college kids at a dorm room to buy weed from them.
Oof.
And it was not a fun experience for me as like an
No.
adult veteran being like, hey, fellow kids, you want to sell me some marijuana?
That's fine.
It's like, here's me trying to deal with like I don't want to call it PTSD. Everybody has PTSD, but deal with my issues from my service time. And I'm put in this situation where like, all right, Chuck Schumer has told me that if I have the technical know-how, I can have weed delivered to my room, to my mailbox.
Yes.
So it's like, all right, Mr. Schumer, let's look into this. The government trusted me with signals intelligence. I'm probably smart enough to figure this out. And it was just encryption. There were resources online to figure it out. And it was just asymmetric encryption, learning how to send a encrypted message to protect yourself from third-party actors. And to do that, like, okay, so I want to buy what? Okay, I'm going to need some Bitcoin. I had to go get some Bitcoin. And then at some point, I'm in college. I have all the time in the world. And I had the moment of realization, like, oh, this Bitcoin is significant. There's a reason that this marketplace is using this technology. This is world-conquering technology. And so this would have been, this was 2014 when I started buying my first Bitcoin, but I didn't get serious about it until 2018. I got out of college, went and worked for Deloitte. Deloitte & Touche is like one of the big professional services companies around the planet. I don't know if people have heard of them, but yeah, they are one of the big four.
Oh yeah, I've got a few mates working there.
Yeah, so I love that Pierre Richard used to work for Deloitte, and like, that was one of my big badges of honor. It's like, oh yeah, I started my career and really ended my career at the same place that Pierre Richard ended his career. I went to Deloitte. I was doing cybersecurity work for Deloitte for one of their contracts. They would have these giant contracts, government level contracts, where like we would get just a list of IP addresses, and it's like, okay, break into these, write a report on how you did it, and then they can harden it so that the bad guys can't do it. So like essentially I was a white hat hacker with a salary, which is not very common in that world. Most people do that freelance or contractually. I was doing it for a salary and for dental insurance, which was nice for a while. But at the same point, like I had already had my bell rung about Bitcoin technology. I wasn't a Bitcoin maximalist at that point. I was still loading up on everything and thinking I was intelligent about it. And then at some point I realized, okay, what am I doing? That would have been the 2018 to like push to 20K around then is when I kind of had my eyes opened about what I was doing and went full in on Bitcoin. And several years later, our first daughter was born, and my wife and I had a conversation about, we're not going to put our kids in daycare and have mom and dad working all the time. Like, who wants to stay home? And my wife was much further along in her career, and she had much more desire to stay with her career. My wife is a CPA, very intelligent lady. She outclasses me in a lot of areas. But so she very graciously said, I'll say you can be a stay-at-home. You've got your Bitcoin stuff going. You be a stay-at-home dad. You can spin up all of the stuff you're doing with Bitcoin. And yeah, so I started a podcast, all these different things. And yeah, that's where I'm now. But in 2023, late 2023 is when I encountered this concept known as pole shift, geomagnetic excursions. And it, similarly to Bitcoin, I dismissed it at first. I kept not being able to dismiss it. Like the claims being made were not dismissible based on my personal history, like being an Air Force intelligence person, my history with Bitcoin, everything lined up, and I couldn't disprove it. So I kept having to go further into it to try to find, like, where is this wrong?
Very Bitcoiny there. Where is this wrong?
Yeah.
Where's the flaw?
So March of 24 last year was when I was like, all right, this is now to the point I have to talk about it publicly. And so I put out an episode of Rock, Paper, Bitcoin. We did, it was episode 34, I think, 34, 35, Apocalyptic Equine. And that is when I presented, in hindsight, it's not really that great of an intro to the topic, because I sound kind of crazy in my own ears even then, because I was terrified. It's a terrifying topic, but there is hope. Once you get over the terror, it's like, this is a new focusing point for humanity. Like, it's worth being scared to get to that point. But yeah, and then earlier this year, I heard Ragnarok, and Ocarum is going down one of the avenues of this, from as I understand it. And so that was, I saw people were commenting on that episode, like, you got to have Business Cat on to talk about this. And yeah, so that brings us to this conversation we're having right now.
Yeah. Well, even before the Ragnarok episode, when I'd spoken to Fundamentals, he was mentioning that you were really interested in pole shift. And I'd listened to a couple of pods I think Elon was talking about it and someone else was talking. This was maybe like a year ago or a year and a half ago or something like that. I was like, oh, who is the other one? What's the guy 12,800 years ago, blah, 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 has his own series.
Graham Hancock.
Graham Hancock, that's it. He was talking about it as well. And Randy Carlson. And I was like, these guys are all pretty on the money with a lot of stuff. There's obviously going to be something to this, but I didn't really give it any more thought. And then obviously Fundamentals brought it up. Then I was speaking to Kerem and then he brought it up. And I was like, okay, yeah, I really, really need to have this conversation. So before we do that, I just want to also mention you founded the Central PA Bitcoin Meetup. Is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, because I really like to try and promote as much as I can these meetups, and I really, really want to start doing some, not promotional material, but like educational material from Ungovernable Misfits and like the surrounding pods and people to try and get out to these meetups, because I find a lot of these meetups, the ones that I've gone to previously, were either like a bit shitcoiny or they were kind of just about number go up, or they just weren't for me. And then there's other ones that have been really stand out, and like they're doing the Ashigaru walkthroughs, or they're working on helping people set up nodes, or there's just like stuff where I'm like, that's really fucking cool. What made you decide to make your own? Was there nothing around, or was there something around but it wasn't your scene, or like how did that go? Because it's quite a big step to actually set up a meetup.
I believe it was 2021. There was nothing around. I came back from the Bitcoin Miami, where they had announced the El Salvador Bitcoin thing, and was just amped up on Bitcoin. And I was like, all right, you know what? I'm starting a meetup. Yeah, so I started and had a couple like virtual screen share lessons, and then we've grown from there. We have events like about once a month.
Okay.
A small amount of pretty dedicated people that come out, but we're still getting new people at almost every event, and it's still growing, that's for sure.
Nice. And do you have like a specific focus there, or is it more like just so that people can catch up and have a beer and like chat one-on-one?
We do both. At some point, I realized there was another group of people in my area that they didn't have a meetup, but they were starting a meetup-esque group of Bitcoiners trying to get together and have conversations. So I reached out to their leader and was like, hey, do you want to be the admin, be my co-admin of the meetup? He was very excited about that. We just kind of merged groups together.
Okay.
And so I've been really stepping back and kind of dragging my feet on Bitcoin meetups, to be quite frank about it. But I'm very thankful that Lonely Pumpkins has stepped up and he's been doing a lot of things. So we have like a monthly coffee. We get together and just chat, like a coffee meetup on Sundays. And then he also has been doing get together, and he puts on a PowerPoint presentation on various topics. We had buying shares versus buying sats was the last one that we did.
Okay.
Really, the conversations that we have a lot, though, is like new people coming in asking, like, what is this thing? Like, they've had their bell rung and they're like, where does the path start? Like, and so like we're setting them up with, okay, well, you need to install a self-custodial wallet and get on River and buy some sats and then self-custody them. That whole thing is mainly where we're focusing on lately.
Once you're in the weeds enough and you've been around enough, it's sort of difficult to remember what your thoughts were right at the beginning. But if we're all honest with ourselves, it's like, okay, this is a valuable thing. It has value. I want to accumulate it. How do I store it? That's kind of like the start of it. And then everything past that, like you have to go through that first hoop of like, why does this have value? Does it actually have value? And why does it have value? And then it's more like, how can I start using it? But if you guys want, like we've got Expatriotic helped make an Ashigaru presentation, like setting up and using that. We're going to be working on a Cake Wallet one for people to be able to work out how to use that. I plan to do more and more of this sort of stuff. So maybe we should talk like more offline and like see if there's something that Ungovernable can help with, because we want to kind of make these ready to go. My plan was make a ready to go walkthrough on something like relatively technical that's going to help people with their privacy and how to use Bitcoin, that someone can stand up, do the presentation. Whoever does the presentation at that meetup gets a free t-shirt and hoodie from us. And then we have like a little quiz or like questions at the end for people. And whoever wins that gets a t-shirt or a hoodie or a hat or something like that.
That's a great little idea. I love that.
Yeah, I just thought it'd be like a cool way to have some influence in what people are learning about, because not all meetups are focusing on the Bitcoin that we might care about. You know, it can be quite different. So I want to try and have some influence there and have like ready to go stuff. And once we have one ready for one meetup, it can go out to as many as people are interested in taking it. So anyway, we'll talk about that. offer.
I think standardized content would be very useful. But yeah, to your point of I've been in this so long that people seem to enjoy listening to me talk, but I really don't feel like I'm the best person to be presenting this to the newbies at this point. I sound like a crazy person to some people. It's like I just don't care anymore. Like, yeah, I work for myself. I've been in Bitcoin for like 10 years at this point. I'm more interested on focusing on truth and freedom than having a polite conversation.
Yes.
Our most recent meetup, I feel like I was kind of mean to one of the boomers that was there just because he was a boomer. I kind of regret that.
It's fine. Like, you know, when you first start, it's like, certainly for me, my main focus in a conversation was to convince the other person, A, that I'm right about Bitcoin, B, that they should probably buy it. And then I would have like a defensiveness where, like, if they're questioning things or being like, oh, that's dumb, I'd get like a little bit upset and like, oh, you're questioning my thoughts. And at this stage, like, I just don't even fucking talk about it to people, normal people. And if they have anything like, oh, yeah, well, I think that's dumb because whatever, I'm like, good, just don't buy it. I don't care.
What you're describing is largely to the point I'm getting to with PolShift now.
Right.
Like, I don't care. Like, pretty much everybody I talk to, Bitcoiners included, don't take this seriously. I can count on one hand the number of people that I know personally, or not even personally, the number of people in the world that I know are really taking this seriously. Ben Davidson is like, he is the tip of the spear of this, Sun Weatherman on X.
Okay.
He is like, if you're interested in getting into, like, he is the person to follow.
Right.
Agrarian Contrarian, he's a local Bitcoiner here in my area. He's taking this very, very seriously. And like, I am taking this very seriously. And that's about, like, I've heard other people will pay it lip service, but I find myself very frequently in conversations just having the comment, oh, that's going to be underwater. And like, it's rough to get anyway.
You can count on your fingers how many people take this seriously in the world. Can you make me take it seriously? Give me a rundown of, because I honestly, like, you know this probably from listening to like me talk to Kerem, I'm not very good with science. I'm not particularly knowledgeable about any of this kind of stuff at all. But I like to think that I am somewhat open-minded and think that there are things that maybe are not talked about enough and maybe could be actually a major problem. And I've also seen that things that do matter and are very important can be ignored, like Bitcoin, by the majority of the world. So I'm at least open-minded enough to say, like, convince me, tell me about it. And like, if it is a problem, I want to be prepared because, you know, I've got kids to look after and a missus to look after. And yeah, like, it matters. The safety matters.
Bitcoiners are well placed for this. Like, don't take anything I say on faith. Like, go look into this yourself. Like, I didn't take any, like, I looked into, like, there is a massive amount of physical evidence for this on our planet, all over our solar system. This is the thing that, like, it answers too many questions. Like, why does the world look the way it does? Why do we have ancient sites that appear the way they do? Why do our elites seem to be like, why are they tunneling underground and trying to get off the planet at a desperate rate? Like, there's just, this answers so many questions. And then the circumstantial evidence is not evidence, but like, just look at the direct physical evidence. To start there, like, my journey started with the book World in Peril. This is a book that was published in 1994 by the author Ken White. Ken White is a guy that, as far as I can tell, is still alive. I can't find much information about him. He attended the Air Force Academy. He was born in the late 40s on Ladd Air Force Base, the Air Force Base that this Project Nanook was taking place on. Like, he was born on that Air Force Base. And his father was Major Maynard White, the commander of the 46th Reconnaissance Squadron, who was tasked at the end of World War II. The Allied powers realized that, okay, well, our next enemy is going to be the Soviet Union, or our next, maybe not enemy, it's always been enemy. Like, it's not just competitor. Our next enemy is going to be the Soviet Union. Okay, if they're going to attack us, it's going to be over the poles. At this point, like, we were still operating and like doing navigation with magnetic compasses. We need to learn how to do war in a polar region. Project Nanook in 1946 retasked a bunch of these B-29s. Like, the B-29 was the super fortress. It was the airplane platform that dropped the atomic bombs on Japan. And not a lot of people know this, but like, people realize that, oh yeah, the atomic program. Why is the name of the atomic program? The Manhattan Project. It was massively expensive, but it was only the second most expensive line item of World War II. The most expensive project in World War II was the B-29 Superfortress. The B-29 Superfortress is a marvel of engineering. It's I could do a whole podcast just about the B-29 Superfortress. It's such a cool piece of technology, but end of World War II. All right, we now have new enemies. Like the old enemies that we needed these B-29s for are gone. What are we going to do with them? All right, well, they tasked a bunch of them to go up to Alaska. They renamed them B-29s to F-13s because they were no longer combat aircraft. They were now like reconnaissance aircraft, although they still did have guns on them occasionally. They sent a bunch of these F-13s up to Ladd Air Force Base in Alaska for Project Nanook, with their mission being go learn how to operate closer to the magnetic poles where the compasses don't work. So they were using grid positioning to learn how, like, let's figure out where the pole is, because the last time the magnetic pole had been surveyed was like the late 1800s. It was at one point up in northern Canada. So they flew their B-29s out and mapped it out. Like, all right, where is it now? It's not in the same place as it was where 40 years ago when we mapped it last. And it's not just one. There's actually 3 magnetic north poles. Like as we're flying around like this, like as you get closer to one than the other one, your compass flips 180 because there's not just one pole that it's always pointing to. No, there's 3 up there. And we just, down here at the lower latitudes, it's generally pointing to the same direction. We use the weighted average of these 3 as what we call the magnetic north. There's not just one magnetic north, there's 3 up there. They were discovering things like this. They mapped out like, okay, here's where we're going to put our forward reconnaissance bases so that if they launch ICBMs, this is where we will like have sensors, all that kind of stuff. This was like, they had several mission objectives. This was us learning how to operate as a military organization up there. And so somebody had the idea, it's like, okay, so this thing's moving. What happens whenever the magnetic pole hits the actual, like it's headed towards the axis point of our planet? What happens when it gets there? That question was asked. I was like, I don't know. Where is it now? All right, let's go there and excavate. Let's go down. Let's excavate down below, like where it is. This is like a project that only governments could do. Even like now, like thinking like, how could a billionaire fund this? Like, yeah, like somebody like Elon Musk or like a Jeff Bezos or maybe even like a Rogan or somebody, a Joe Rogan, somebody with enough, probably a Bitcoiner. If we have enough time, we'll confirm this. Like as Bitcoin sneaks in like the thief in the night and completely turns the plans of these elites upside down. Somebody's going to do this again. Project Nanook, they went up and took a bunch of excavation material, heavy machinery up into the wastelands of Alaska and started digging down under one of the magnetic poles was. And what did they find? They found smashed trees that were not petrified trees. There was a layer of sand. Under that, there was a layer of smashed and destroyed trees and vegetation and animal remains. Below that was another layer of sand. It's like basically it alternated from tropical to Arctic to tropical to Arctic to tropical. There were 9 layers.
The fuck?
As far as they dug down, they only dug down 9 layers, but they discovered 9 layers that alternated. And this is just the first discovery. They realized like, what is this? All right, well, we need to, this discovery changed how we're like looking at like what was our nation doing at this time. Okay, well, we had expeditions down to the South Pole. We had Project Nanook going at the North Pole. We had there was Nanook ended in the 50s, so it wasn't. We had projects going on the North Pole. We had Operation Iceworm going up in Greenland. We were learning how to dig under the ice to we'll drop ICBM silos into ice and then power them with a nuclear reactor. It's like, so we're trying all these crazy projects. And then this event happened where we discover this alternating fossils of tropical and Arctic. And pretty much all of these other expeditions end, and all of the focus goes to the North Pole. So Admiral Byrd, who is a person that people will have heard of if they're into certain conspiracies, like he was retasked and he had to come up to work on this project up in the north. And when he was up there, this is when he wrote his book. There's definitely evidence, like psyops exist. We know this. And like, how far back do psyops go? It definitely seems that there are some ideas and theories that have more effort and power behind them than they should. I'm sure there are people out there that actually believe in flat Earth and that the birds are drones, but like it seems like a lot of people that are into some of these conspiracy theories are doing it just to like rib and like just to be trolls. And so like the idea, it has been floated that at the South Pole there's a hole at the South Pole that goes into the hollow Earth. And Admiral Byrd wrote there's some interesting entries in Admiral Byrd's journals and diaries about this stuff that he was discovering at the South Pole. From my understanding, those journals and diaries were written while he was up working at Ladd Air Force Base being retasked. My read on a lot of these things is that they discovered this horrible secret that the planet turns over with some repeatable frequency, and this cannot get out. Like this is society ending information. We need to like salt the field essentially with other competing theories, so that whenever this one inevitably gets out, even though it has way more physical evidence for it than any of the other ones. It's like people will dismiss it. Had I not had my mind kind of altered from Bitcoin, I would have dismissed it.
Just so I follow, when you say the Earth flips, do you mean if you're looking at it like it's a football floating in the air and the north is the north and the south is the south, that it literally turns 180 degrees like downwards? Is that what you're saying when you say flip? As if like one pole that it was north now becomes south and south becomes north kind of thing?
It's not exactly as clean as that, but yes. So people have heard of the magnetic shift, the magnetic flip of the poles, where like, oh, well, who really cares? The south magnetic pole will come to the north magnetic pole will go to the south. It's like, no, there's a physical component to that as well. The planet flips with it. It's not exactly 180. Karam was getting into the mechanics of this electromagnetic, how the electromagnetic solar system works.
Electric universe or something.
Yeah, the electromagnetic universe. And like that's a big part of it. We have an approaching wavefront of the galactic magnetic field. It is spiraling out from the center of our galaxy, and like the next wavefront is approaching our solar system. And it brings with it a lot of dust and debris and things. When it arrives, things are going to be bad. He has gone, I don't want to like dismiss his theory, because like he and I agree like with 97, 98%, other than like he's worried about October 31st, the Perseid meteors. He's worried about them acting as a bit of a circuit breaker or something. That is something to be worried about. But my understanding is that it's the next solar cycle when this stuff arrives, this solar dust. But like, people can get it. Like, I don't want to, like, I have not drilled down into like the mechanics of this specifically. Like, I have tried to stay like as high level and just focusing on the physical evidence that we have access to. Dear listeners, like the big asterisk, like as I'm going through all of this evidence, like I will get that. Like, there's definitely things that I have misunderstood and have gotten wrong. But like that being said, like I am giving you my best effort as I understand it currently. It's like I've only been in this for like coming up on 2 years at this point.
Can I just ask another question then? So if that happens, when they dug down and you're saying like there's like ice, then there's sand, like tropical stuff, there's like a repeatable, there's this, then there's that, and there's this, and there's that. Two questions really. How long are these timelines of these pole shifts where you go from tropical to ice? And two, how do we know that it's not just that we had a whole ice age across the entire planet and then we had a warming up of the planet and everything was tropical, and so that it's not that it's actually to do with where that pole is moving, but actually just that the entire surface of the Earth looked completely different at that point and then it changes again?
No, this is a great question. This is an absolutely valid question. I mean, like the natural state of our planet is a glacial period. Like we currently exist in an interglacial period. It's like we think of like we're worried about the planet getting warmer. It's like, no, the planet is natural state is way colder than this, and it's way worse if it gets colder. So the idea of like the entire planet could have been covered and then it just alternates like that, and that would be that's okay, fair. So Admiral Byrd, while he was in Antarctica, found fossilized leaf stem imprints and fossilized wood under the ice. Shackleton, the guy who got to the South Pole, he found coal beds within 200 miles of the South Pole. Coal beds come from ancient forests, and forestation does not occur when there's darkness for 6 months. Also found near the South Pole were fossilized footprints of prehistoric reptiles, cold-blooded creatures that do not exist, need an external source of energy needed to be somewhere.
Yeah.
There's way more evidence than this. Like there's Spitsbergen Island is an island in the Arctic Circle, and it shows ample evidence of tropical corals around it. Contains considerable amounts of coal deposits. It has water lily fossils showing evidence of a warm, marshy environment. And the real kicker here is that prehistoric frozen, not petrified trees on Spitsbergen Island have no rings. So like, where do trees have no rings? Trees have no rings where there's no seasons, at the equator. Everywhere else, the only two answers there are either a massive amount of trees with no rings were swept from the equator all the way up to Spitsbergen Island, where they were interned and not petrified but frozen in a mass, or the equator once went through Spitsbergen Island. Those are the two options.
Or the whole Earth was tropical everywhere, meaning those water lilies and the trees and everything were tropical for a certain period of time, and that you had these cold-blooded creatures that could live because it was hot.
You're not wrong. This is a valid. You still have like massive forestation does not occur in areas where there's darkness for 6 months.
Why is there darkness for 6 months?
At the pole, so because of the tilt of the axial tilt of our planet,
Oh, right, I get you.
Yeah, so like it's like the vampires would love to live in Alaska because they get a bunch of time to be outside hunting.
You're right, yeah. And in parts of Norway, up high north in Norway, it's like 6 months of no sunshine. It's just darkness all the time. So is that like some of these questions are going to be stupid just because I don't understand this kind of stuff very well. But like, is there any way that that could have ever been different, or is it always the same because the sun's always in the same position and we're rotating around? There's no way that without a pole shift or a movement of the actual Earth that could be different. Do you know what I'm sort of trying to get at? Like that's always constant.
Yeah, I'm definitely open to hearing another hypothesis for how these trees could have gotten there.
Mm,
My understanding of orbital mechanics is like, okay, the sun is a flashlight. Our planet is like just a ball of dirt that goes around it. There's
yeah.
really not that much mechanics or things to play with other than kind of like moving the surface.
And that ball of dirt goes around it, but flat. It's rotating. It's not rotating north goes to south and south goes to north. It's rotating the other way and always has done and always will do, presumably. We were saying about like the mechanics of it. It's not that it's on a slight tilt and over a certain amount of time that happens.
If you look at other masses in like rotating in microgravity, you may have heard of the tennis racket theorem. It's also known as the Dzhanibekov effect.
Right.
And it's if you like spin a tennis racket in microgravity, it spins correctly for a bit and then it flips around the other way and spins that way, and
Right.
it flips back. And it's just back and forth and back and forth.
Right.
And it slowly gets sloppier and then it flips to its new orientation. That's not the exact process or mechanic that is happening on our planet, but it's close enough that it's a useful metaphor to use.
Okay.
Back to World in Peril. It's like World in Peril was written by Ken, who was the son of the commander of this squadron who did all of this research. And for whatever reason, all of this information was classified top secret. All of the math was processed by the human computers at the RAND Corporation back in the day as they were trying to figure out, like, when is this next shift going to happen? But the reason this book seems to have slipped between the censor's cracks is that Major White kept all of the scientific results, kept a copy of them, and gave them to his son.
Right.
Like, so his son went up to the attic and then used this to write this book all about like the entire history of the squadron. And it's like, this is, I feel like my experience with the Air Force, like I read through this looking for like, okay, where is he full of crap? It's like, okay, none of this part's full of crap. If there's lies in this, it's just lies in the scientific results. And I don't have any reason to see that.
An interesting thing to see, because obviously if you were trying to debunk it to some degree, you could say, okay, well, the son could say that the father has passed him down this stuff and it could be full of shit and so that he could release a book and blah, blah, blah. But a good way to know whether it's bullshit or not would be, okay, can we see or can we dig in that site to see if there is tropical, then non-tropical, then tropical, then non-tropical? Because if the mechanics of the way that the Earth turns are confirmed, as in that's how it turns and always has done, and that there's the 6 months without the light and all of that, then you're right. I can't see a way that you would have forests like that or you would have tropical climates like that. I can't see how that could possibly be. And then it's like, well, then we have to think of another way that they could be there. And then, like you said, it could be that it's been swept up there, maybe from floods or some other issue, or it could be a pole shift like you're talking about. So, but it's something. You can't just look at that after digging and go, oh yeah, that's fine. There's something weird there.
There's definitely something weird. Have you followed the Alaskan Boneyard?
No, I haven't.
You're aware of him and like he goes on Rogan and stuff?
No, I've heard Rogan talk about going to someone who's very wealthy's property and that they had a load of mammoth bones and stuff, like maybe going through like a river or something like that, or like that might be the same guy.
Yeah, it might be the same thing. So the Boneyard in Alaska it's a gold mining operation in Alaska, and they're just using high pressurized streams of hot water jets to cut through all of the muck to get down to the bedrock.
Right.
And because like that's where the gold's heavy, it ends up down to the bedrock.
Yeah.
So like as they're cutting through this muck, this company has existed for over 100 years. This company was where a lot of the bones that ended up in the Smithsonian were from this company. Because as they're cutting through all of this muck and stuff, they're finding prehistoric mammoths, saber-toothed cats, all kinds of like giant beavers, everything. It's just essentially all of the topsoil, everything above the ground rock in Alaska is just a massive viscera of shattered trees, destroyed animals. This is not the only place. This is just like, we know of this because it's like happening in Alaska and it's in popular culture because the new owner is now going on Rogan talking about like he's got a beef with the Smithsonian because he says like the Smithsonian is covering up a lot of the stuff they've sent to them and like he wants it back. Anyway, that's a whole other story. But like this is just one aspect of popular culture that kind of dips into this. But like the idea that the ground is just made of smashed bones, like that's all of Alaska essentially.
Right.
You get up near Fairbanks, it's just like during the winter, the ground is super usable because it's frozen. But then during the summer months, it's just everything is a swamp.
Right.
And that is elsewhere too, like in the archipelago of the New Siberian Islands. If this is real, this has been covered up. And it's not just been covered up by our government, but it's also like our government isn't the only source of information in the world. So like other governments, like Moscow, like the Soviet Union, why weren't they more vocal about this? And like, or why hasn't Russia now been more vocal about this? They also have their own evidence. Like the Siberian Islands are almost literally composed of the bones and remains of millions of animals, flash frozen, mammoths, saber-toothed giant, cats, rhinoceroses, buffalo, deer, and they were flash frozen so quickly that in 1930, the Moscow Academy of Sciences served mammoth steaks at their banquet.
What?
Yeah, like you've heard that mammoths were like frozen so quickly that like it's like there's the day after tomorrow. It's like the idea that air from the upper atmosphere is like sucked down and it freezes things and like so quickly that like because there's a famous case of we found ancient mammoths that were frozen so quickly they have undigested food in their stomachs.
Whoa.
So it's like, okay, how does that happen? Okay, well, a pole shift would explain it. Like mammoths, like we always think of mammoths existing. Like if you picture one in your brain, you probably picture it in like an Arctic tundra, but that's not where mammoths lived. Mammoths lived in like the tundra, the like where there was things for them to eat. Like mammoths, you're not going to support a mammoth frame in the
Ice Age.
in the Arctic.
Yeah.
But that's where we found them, so that's where we just assume that that's where they were. But like no, they were frozen so quickly that 6,000 years. I guess that was a question you had. The frequency of this, it seems to be a 6,000 year cycle with inflection on the 12,000 year events. So every other one is a really bad one.
It's like a clock, 6 and 12, and there's these changes and rotations and stuff. It's weird.
I'm looking through a list of my evidence here. It's like the only other Earth-based evidence I have on my list here is that the mountains of Italy have beaches of sand formed by wave action that are at 1,500 feet. It's like, okay, there's many. You could maybe those mountains were formed elsewhere and then they pushed up to 1,500 feet. Okay, maybe, but they also meanwhile have beaches of sand formed by wave action. The pyramids at Giza look an awful lot like they have wave erosion, karst erosion on them, indicating were the pyramids like partially underwater at some point for a period of time, like long enough to erode them. It's like, maybe. It's like they're definitely covered in salt. Why was Göbekli Tepe intentionally buried? It was like they buried it to protect it. Like what were they going to protect it from? I don't know. Something you'd protect from. Derinkuyu. Derinkuyu in Turkey is a massive underground city that could hold like up to 20,000 humans and animals. What were they hiding from? It's like, why go underground? Everything seems to lead back to it's like there's a Micronova event that puffs out a lot of plasma that really messes up our solar system about every 6,000 years.
Yeah, there's definitely like something, like you're saying, with these underground cities and the amount of attention that was paid to the skies, timing of everything. It definitely seems like humans were monitoring things and they were preparing for something, whether that's massive floods, whether it's meteors, or whether it's pole shift, or whatever it is. I don't fucking know. I have no idea. But there was definitely something that they were watching for. And the amount of effort, like I saw clips of that city, the underground city. It's fucking amazing. It's not like someone's gone, oh, I'll just dig a hole just in case like something happens. It's like, that is unimaginable how much work has gone into that. Like, it's not for nothing.
Right? Imagine like the kind of, and so a society that saw this issue coming is going to be a society that is looking up. Graham Hancock's series Ancient Apocalypse is incredible. It goes through all of this evidence for this ancient civilization that was wiped out by some kind of catastrophe. He puts it at the feet of the Perseids. There's zero chance that he hasn't heard the pole shift hypothesis. And yet he keeps coming back to the Perseid meteor shower. The same with Randall Carlson. I don't know how to read that on them other than I can understand why. Pole shift is a spicy topic to get into. And once you wrap your mind around it, it's like, okay, well, what would happen if the planet physically turned? It's like, well,
Massive flooding.
All of the water would slosh around.
Yeah.
The atmosphere is not tied down. So like, okay, the planet's spinning at roughly 1,000 miles an hour. So if it changed, okay, so you're telling me that we're gonna have 1,000-mile-per-hour winds at certain points on the planet as it shifts in about a day. Like it takes like a day or two to shift. This is a rapid thing. This is not like a slow event. This happens rapidly. The sun puffs out a micronova, which potentially ignited because of the approaching magnetic wave front of our galactic center. Like all that dust arrives, all that dust is deposited onto our sun. The episode of our Rock Paper Bitcoin I labeled Apocalyptic Equine because this disaster theory kind of maps pretty good onto the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse.
Right.
First one is the white horse. Our sun is white right now if you look at it. But like I remember when our sun was yellow. Like our sun was yellow in my childhood and it's now white. That's an interesting thing. So I read that as the first horseman. The second horseman is red, the red horseman. That is, okay, a bunch of dust is going to get deposited over a period of years onto our sun. Our planet depends a lot on solar output. So things are going to get really difficult whenever the solar output decreases to the point that food gets scarce. The next one is the black horse. The black horse is, all right, the full dust is blacking out our sun. Questionable how long this lasts, potentially up to 8 months to a year before all of that is puffed off. There's only certain ways we know how to create a stellar nova. Dumping a bunch of dust onto it, an accretion disk, that's one way. Another way is a magnetic kick. And we have both of those things approaching our local sun. And so like the black horse, okay, so the sun goes black for a period of time, things get really dark. And then the last one, the pale horse, and death comes with him. That's the micronova. All of that dust is dumped onto our sun. Our sun puffs it out and messes up everything in our solar system. Like we see evidence all across our solar system of some kind of massive violent thing occurring. Could be a micronova. That micronova event will cause so much magnetic action. Dear listeners, I encourage you to look into this. I'm speaking as I understand it, but like this will allow the crust of our planet to unlock from the mantle. And this is the real kicker of like where the shift happens. Basically, like under our crust, between our crust and mantle is kind of a like plasticky, mushy, lava-y mixture. It's sticky. It holds us there. But whenever we have this amount of magnetic energy dumped into our planet, what is normally a sticky mass gets much more viscous, and that allows our planet, the crust, to turn to where it wants to be. Where does anything want to be if it's rotating in a microgravity? It wants to have its heaviest points at the end of its orbits. So like our planet is desperately trying to right now get Greenland and Antarctica to the equator because that's where they want to orbit naturally. Those are the 2 heaviest points on our planet. So they want to get to the equator. And whenever this micronova puffs out enough energy to detach our crust from the mantle, in rapid short order, they will reposition themselves. And that's like and then it came a pale horse, and death came with him. It's like, yeah, like we're going to live through 10 years of, call it difficulty from our local star. And then on top of that, it's going to end with worldwide tsunamis and worldwide like 1,000-mile-per-hour winds.
So you're saying that if you think of like the Earth as a ping pong ball, the crust is like the outside of the ping pong ball. You're saying that the crust would rotate, but everything underneath it kind of stays as is, and it moves. The heaviest point of the crust is what's moving downwards. It's not that the entire, if you think of it like a solid ball, it's not that the entire ball is flipping 180 degrees or whatever amount it would flip. It was actually that the outside layer would be moving.
That is as I understand it. And so it's like our local magnetic field is driven by our nickel iron core that is rotating inside of another metal. And like you rotate metals, magnetic fields opposite each other, that's how an electric current, an electric field is generated. So like if you could view our planet's electric field as the planet's surface was slipping across, like the magnetic field will stay just where it is. Our crust will slip over it. The magnetic field is moving in and of itself, but like just in that moment is one way you could visualize it.
And so if that happened, I sort of like went through this with Karen with his, you're both talking about an event that would wipe out presumably most of, if not a lot of the planet. Is there anything in your scenario, if we have a pole shift and if this happens, 1,000-mile-an-hour winds, massive tsunamis, like I can only try and roughly visualize what that might look like, but it's fucking mental. Is there anything that you can do on the planet to survive, or must you leave and go to Mars or whatever some of the elites are like I don't like calling them elites, actually.
You're right. Elite's not the correct term for them, but it's fine to call them
fucking parasites.
like they just were aware of this problem earlier. So like they spent all of our tax money digging a massive deep underground base network all across the country. They're still dependent on our money. All of this is like the craziest, most perverse, like the Bible predicted Bitcoin kind of thing of like the meek shall inherit the earth. These elites have put all of their cards on them being able to pay their bills with dollars, with whatever their national currency is. Bitcoin comes in and takes that away. Like, okay, sure, I imagine that deep underground, they have their own energy sources, but right now they're not. They're pulling energy from the surface. A known tunnel that is publicly known is from DC to the Harrisburg area, where like I live outside the Harrisburg area. And I went to Penn State Harrisburg on what used to be Olmsted Air Force Base. Why was Olmsted Air Force Base built in Harrisburg? If DC is nuked, we need a place that is far enough outside the nuke zone to base our fast reaction squadron. Olmsted Air Force Base in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, the whole reason for existence was to house the fast reaction fighters that would be punching back after we were attacked. And so like we know that there is a high speed electric tram that goes from DC up closer to Philly, and then it goes right through York and right up to Harrisburg. And like it's known there. If you drive along the turnpike that bisects Pennsylvania, like left to right, east to west, regularly you will see high voltage 3-phase power just going into the ground near the highway in the middle of nowhere. It's like, okay, that's being used for something. It's like I don't have evidence for this. There's loads of evidence for the deep underground military base network that like nuclear threat is a threat, but like you don't need the level of base probably been built just for nuclear. There's more to it than that. Elon and Bezos are trying to get off the planet. Like Bezos is in the Sierra Madres. He's digging into the mountain right across the road from his spaceport. So he has this century clock that he's building into this underground fortress that he's building. This happens with regularity, and like humans have survived this 1,000 times before. Like we will survive it this time. How can you protect yourself from this? Well, high ground for one is obviously imagine a globe in your head, or like I bought a globe just so I could kind of look at it physically. Put your finger on Greenland and put your finger in Antarctica, and then rotate those to the equator, and then just picture how the water will slosh in your brain. Not everybody has like the visual brain, but like I can picture it in my brain. It's like without doing a computer model, it's like, so last time it happened, we went the other way. So it just goes back and forth and back and forth. And so last time we rotated the other way to our current orientation. And if you look around the planet, there seems to be loads of evidence that the ocean washed over something. The Richat structure was all washed out to sea. That was like potentially where Atlantis was, the peak civilization that came before. Like they were wiped out by the pole shift.
And that's Africa, isn't it? That's like West Africa?
It's Mauritania in West Africa, yeah.
So high ground is...
Anybody can build a boat. There's a reason that Noah built an ark. Like, you can build a floatable platform. Depending on where you are will be the prescription for the preparations that you should take. When the tilt starts happening, when the shift starts happening, I mean, we already will have had to have survived years of famine level conditions worldwide at this point. So like that's the first thing to get ready for. But after that, okay, after you've survived that, okay, now like where are you in the world? Like if you're in an area where the water is going to come inland, what you're going to face is essentially the tide is going to start coming in rapidly and it's not going to stop. The tide's just going to keep coming in until it's 1,000 feet high. If you have a boat, a platform that you can hop on, there's going to be a lot of debris in the water, but you could potentially float inland until it starts receding out, and then dear God, you don't want to get sucked back out in the middle of the Atlantic. But I mean, like that is an option. If you're high enough in the mountains, Ben Davidson is I mentioned Ben at the beginning of this. He is basing his citadel. I mean, he doesn't call it a citadel, but like this is essentially the concept of a Bitcoin citadel. Like Bitcoiners were already kind of thinking along these lines, like, oh, I need to build a citadel. It's like, oh, well, it's just you're going to be protecting from the planet physical effects, not from the world's economic effects. And so like Ben Davidson, he's based in Colorado. He's based in he calls it the Valley of the Sun. You can look it up on Google Maps. He has a campground now that he just opened.
Okay.
Observer Ranch is the name of it. That's his play. He has planted his flag, and it's like, this is where I am. He thinks that this is high enough. The Rockies are going to absorb a lot of the ocean from the United States. If you look at the way it's going to rotate. So like the tide is going to go out here on the East Coast, and then it's going to come in with it once it comes in, it's going to come in with a massive amount of energy and go much further inland than it ever has before. And so like I am in Pennsylvania, central Pennsylvania, at one of I'm fortunate that cosmically, like my family has property at one of the highest points in the Appalachian Mountains in the state of Pennsylvania. Like that being said, like I'm not super confident that the Appalachian Mountains are high enough to deal with this. I have to trust God with some amount of this. Like God put me on this path for a reason. Please, God, protect my family. Like you put me here. Like this is where we're gonna make our stand. Even our property. Like so, agrarian contrarian is he's also going to be and has been contributing to our plan, our Citadel plans. We're going to be underground, but we're also considering building some kind of floating platform. Just because we're near the top of a mountain doesn't like it probably could be insurance to have that. There's just so many layers to like protection, like first level, like hey, you're going to need guns to protect yourself from the other people as the society falls apart. There's so many layers to this, and eventually, like you get to the point where Bitcoin really becomes irrelevant.
Yeah,
like if there was any technology that could survive this, Bitcoin is the most anti-fragile technology that humans have ever encountered, have ever messed with, have ever created. But you wipe out 99% of the species, the satellites won't fall out of the sky immediately, but a lot of them are going to get fried from the Micronova. The big question is how much industry survives on this planet. It's like the Carrington event was, I mean, you talked about the Carrington event with Karam. It's like, this is like, okay, take the Carrington event and then multiply it by an order of magnitude up. It's like, we have a lot of electronic stuff on this planet, and it's like potentially all going to go away.
Yeah. Also, it's like, in that disaster scenario you're talking about, like even before there is a pole shift, you're going to go through famine, you're going to go through those four horsemen, the stages, and so there's going to be darkness, there's not going to be food, all this stuff. In those situations, it is just going to be who has food, who has weapons, who has water. And outside of that, a lot of the other stuff that we worry about as Bitcoiners is kind of irrelevant, and probably would be for a very long time. I think if anything, there's going to be violence or barter or collaboration. Like it's going to be like either, look, you help me, I'll help you. I have eggs, you have this, or it's going to be, give me your shit, otherwise I'm going to blow your head off. It's going to be those, because at the end of the day, like we're all nice and peaceful and collaborative until my kids can't eat. And then there's a problem. Yeah. And I don't care who it is because they need to eat. And that's with everyone. So I guess, the same as the conclusion that we came to with Kerem, with the exception of have high ground and have a floating platform, is still try and be friendly with your neighbors, try and have weapons, try and have some self-sufficiency where you can, and be prepared, which is, I guess it's kind of like just generally a good thing anyway, because even if nothing happens in our lifetime, whether it's a flood or it's whatever it is, like even if nothing happens, it's not a bad thing to be self-sufficient, and it's not a bad thing to have a few weapons, and it's not a bad thing to be friendly with neighbors and people. So it's not like the type of insurance you need to take out that's going to cost you an arm and a leg. Like this is actually useful stuff most of the time.
It really, yeah. And we do have a bit of time. The best evidence for when our local magnetic field is going to be so weak that really just like a sneeze from the sun would be catastrophic, it is going to be in the next solar cycle.
Which is what, like?
Late 2030s, early 2040s is really when the target for this is going to be really... If this is accurate, we should start to see luminosity decreases in the sun by the mid 2030s, I would estimate. Like the luminosity is decreased. This is interesting. There's a movie coming out. What's it called? The new Andy Weir film. He's the guy who did The Martian. Right. Project Hail Mary. Okay. It's coming out next year. And the whole, like, I don't know if you've read it or anything, like the entire premise of that movie is that the sun is decreasing in its luminosity, and all of the suns are decreasing in luminosity except for this one. So we're going to send a mission there to this sun to figure out why it's not decreasing in luminosity. Okay. So it's not the pole shift. It's not a magnetic field front approaching. But to slightly spoil the book, they have their own reason. It's interesting that this kind of idea is kind of getting out there now in the public eye, the public mind. That the scary thing is not a warmer planet. The really scary thing is a colder planet. Yeah. And there's a lot of evidence that the planet's going to get colder.
Yeah. So, and you said earlier about, you remember the sun being yellow and now it's white, and that it would go orange and then dark. Is that something that is measurable or recorded in some way? And is there an explanation for why that's happening if it is measurable and recorded?
I have not seen scientific results based on it.
Right.
I've heard other people make the claim. Hearing other people make the claim that they remember the yellow sun reminds me that I remember the yellow sun too. I remember lying, I can picture it now because I've thought about it so much. I remember lying on my back on our driveway and just like playing the game when you're a little kid, like seeing how long can I stare at the sun? And like, it's a different, I mean, who knows? Human brain memory is what it is, fallible as it is. I remember it being yellower than it is now. That alone in and of itself proves nothing. It could entirely, it actually might be nothing, but it's just one of those things. Like all of these things together, it's just like, this is an awful lot of circumstantial evidence.
Yeah, and then it would presumably, if we have that problem, then all of this solar and stuff that's being put everywhere is going to be fucking useless. I was thinking when you were saying about the tunnels and like that there are more tunnels than we know about and all this kind of stuff. Is there not something that we can do with like LiDAR or some type of technology like that where people could fly drones and just map out actually where tunnels are? Or is there not technology that is readily available that can go that deep or through maybe lead or whatever they've lined it with?
Generally speaking, ground penetrating radar does not go that deep, and LiDAR is laser based, so you're mapping the surface of things. So yeah, definitely not LiDAR. Basically, there are technologies out there that you can map the interior of the planet, but most of those things require like government level access. It's like you need to put a sensor in a polar orbit so that you will map the entire surface of a planet, and then put a magnetometer on there or something, some kind of magnetic map.
Okay.
There are definitely ways we could do it. There's also like you may have seen semi-recently there was a claim that some Italian company could see inside and under the Great Pyramid.
Oh yeah.
They were on a parallax, so like using publicly based low Earth orbit data available from like Planet Labs or somebody. They were measuring parallax. This is a real thing, but what they're claiming to do with it makes no sense to me with my understanding of physics. There's definitely something under the Great Pyramid, but like what they're claiming is just ludicrous to me.
Right.
You could also, like, if you had enough sensors, you could use the cosmic background radiation to map the interior. You could map the entire thing if you just had the sensors in the right place, because we're constantly being bombarded by electrons and neutrinos and like everything, like radiation from extrasolar places. Like you could use those as an X-ray machine if you could just line up your film at the right point. These are level kind of like things like only a hyper Bitcoinized society where you had people that were so uber wealthy that they could move those kind of like nation level projects.
Do you think when you were talking about a lot of the pole stuff and the expeditions and all of that kind of stuff, it was making me think like another conspiracy theory that's out there and you hear a lot is Antarctica conspiracy theories and people thinking that all sorts of things are going on up there or had gone up there and that there's a reason people can't visit and blah, blah, blah. Do you think there could be any link between those two, or do you think that's something used to throw off the scent?
I can't dismiss it. I'll say that. If this idea of pole shift is true, okay, Antarctica at one point was at the equator, that it was not covered in ice. And one of the ways I've heard Atlantis described was it was an island at the end of all the oceans, which is a way that you can describe Antarctica. It's an island at the end of all the oceans. And so like it's possible that Antarctica was the center of this ancient civilization that was wiped out. And like the reason why incredibly difficult to go down there. It's not like I could finance my own expedition down there. No, but like somebody could. Like I definitely question why we haven't been able to do more down there. And like there was recently a pilot that flew down there and landed on it because he wanted to get the checkbox of I've landed on every continent, and they immediately arrested him. But like that was just the government of Peru because he didn't file a flight plan. So it's like there wasn't some like secret or like black van that drove up and like nabbed this guy. So Antarctica is a really, really inhospitable place. Mars is like Antarctica, and just Mars doesn't have oxygen. So it's like, think how hard it is to live in Antarctica and then remove the oxygen. That's how hard it's going to be to live on Mars. I think there's like a level of that. Okay, it's inhospitable. There's no reason to go there. But then there's also like, it looks an awful lot like there's pyramids down there buried under snow and ice.
Yeah, I've seen some of those pictures and they do look interesting. And there's also some stuff on the moon and Mars that looks interesting.
Yeah, boy, the moon is an interesting topic too.
Yeah, like as I say, like I'm quite open-minded on stuff, but I also know my limitations. Like where you or Karen might say, "Oh, my understanding of physics says that this isn't likely," or "This isn't." I'm like, my understanding of physics is I wasn't allowed in the classroom because I was a fucking annoying little cunt that had to stand outside. I'll go a certain depth with conspiracy stuff, and then I'll just go, maybe, I don't know. Like I'm not smart enough to know, so I don't know. But some of those pictures, if they haven't been edited, my brain can go, That's peculiar, to say the least. There's something weird there.
There's a lot of weird things all across our solar system too that to date I don't see anybody really questioning.
Yeah, it's so fascinating because it's like a lot of the stuff where it's like, oh yeah, well that's being buried for a reason, or the information is being hidden because it would cause uproar between the people, and all the kind of reasons that you can come up with of why something would be hidden. And at the same time, there's all these secret societies where secret information is passed down and all these kind of things. And it does make you question, like, well, if there are secret societies with secret information that's held very, very close to their chest and protected by military and special organizations, and they can use as much money as they want because they can control the money and take it from us to fund these projects. It does make you question just how like crazy and weird the stuff gets. And my gut feeling is a lot of this stuff is right. There are serious dangers and threats to the planet. There are some really fucking weird things that have been hidden. There are lots of things that have been faked. And I don't know, I guess it's kind of like partly once you understand how fake the money is and fake a lot of the systems are, and how like stupid some of the things that we chase. Like if I look at people being like, oh, I want to buy this $40,000 handbag, and like that's like what they're obsessing over. You're like, oh my god, you're so lost. You've been pushed in a certain thought pattern, or you think that things are important that are so far from important, while other things that actually are being covered up. Like it definitely feels like there's a control of like, keep the people busy, keep them thinking about things that don't matter, so we can just carry on with what we're doing. You can't put your finger on it, or I can't put my finger on it completely, but I'm open to what you're saying. I'm not listening to what you're saying and going like, oh yeah, this guy's a fucking lunatic. I'm like, that could be totally reasonable.
The question of like who the elites are is also like very valid, and the elites, like they started getting ready for this 70 years ago. The people that are maintaining it now are not the same people that started it. Are they building a breakaway civilization? What happens like on the weekend? Like the guards, do the guards know like what they go down and they're like, do they have families? They go home to their families? Are they living down under these bunkers? Like, or do they get to see the sky as they're waiting for this apocalypse to happen? It's like, there's real valid questions. Like it doesn't really make sense unless there's some kind of other larger intelligence at play. Like if this is just humans, I can't imagine just looking at the elites now, like where are they building their bug out shelters? It's like they're not all the same. Look at Zuckerberg and Oprah Winfrey, and like they're on the side of a volcano. They're digging into Hawaii, which is like one of the worst places I could think of being for this. Like, okay, when this happens, every volcano on the planet is going to erupt simultaneously.
Yeah, I was just about to say, like, volcanoes sounds like an extremely retarded place to, other than it's cool, like, you know, like Austin Powers
Bad guy lair
kind of style thing. But outside of that, it's really fucking stupid.
Yeah, that leads me to believe that there is some level of tiers in the elite. Like the Zuckerbergs, the Oprahs, like they were useful enough to get their foot in the door far enough that they knew that, okay, well, there's something, that, but they're obviously not being told the whole story, or else why would they have chosen that location? You guys are like the foot soldier peon levels of the elite. You're the fingernails they're willing to sacrifice whenever like the actual event happens. Like they're not going to let Zuckerberg into their real deep underground base.
I wouldn't let Zuckerberg into my base. He's not someone I'd like to be stuck underground with. He's a bit creepy and weird and fake and just awkward. I could spend some time with Elon, even though like maybe people don't agree with some of the stuff he does or says or whatever. Like I think he'd at least be quite fun. Whereas Zuckerberg, I feel like he's maybe a bit rapey. Like I'd maybe have my back to the wall.
I feel like Elon is aware at least that the elites, aren't going to let Elon into their bunkers either, which is why he's focusing so hard on the Starship program and the Boring Company. What's he trying to do? He's trying to get out of our gravity well, and he's trying to dig underground. Like, okay, well, yeah, they're not going to let me in there, so I need to save myself.
I'll do my own.
Which is like the ultimate Bitcoiner thing. Like, nobody's coming to save us. We have to save ourselves.
Would you not in an underground bunker be fucked anyway? Because, like, would water not find a way in? Would there not be cracks as the earth shifts? And you're talking about the crust.
Your entrance gets buried by mud. Yeah, no, being underground, like...
It's not for me, the underground thing.
A part of this apocalypse is going to require being underground. Like, there's a reason that Darren Kuyu was built. This Micronova, if you are on the side of the planet facing the sun when it puffs off this, you're going to have a really bad time. But that's a very short amount of time. We're talking like under 10 minutes of 700 to 1,000 degree temperatures on one side of the planet. And like, so you need to be underground. You don't want to be on the surface when that happens.
Oh, it's the heat.
But it's not like you need to live there. You need to be like, just for like a very short amount of time. Like like whenever it's coming, get in the shelter. And then like after that, you can get back out and get on with what you're doing.
I didn't know it was heat. I thought it was for meteors, like things dropping out the sky that you'd want to be underground. I'll tell you what though, 1,000-degree heat, you're fucked.
Sheet lightning, like the Thor's hammer of like sheet lightning. There's a reason that Valles Marineris on Mars looks the way it does. It looks like it was hit by an electrical discharge. That's another thing. Like everybody on the planet is going to get hit by whenever this discharge happens. Like, yeah, there's going to be continent size lightning, sheet lightning discharging into the planet. If you're under that, you're screwed.
You're just fucked.
It doesn't matter if you're underground or you had just screwed. There's no surviving that. There is some level of prayer that's required here. Like, dear God, put me in the right place at the right time.
Yeah. You'd also like 1,000-degree heat. One thing you could really sear an incredible steak. You know, like you have these, like you don't want to be anywhere near it because you are dead. You know, have these special cookers where you can do a steak in like 30 seconds or like 50 seconds. It's like fucking hot, like 1,000 degrees or whatever, and it like perfectly sears and it's done. That's the only upside of this.
The same kind of thing. Like there is a point up there in the upper atmosphere somewhere, like out in space, that if you dropped a steak right there, it would fall through the atmosphere, cook itself perfectly, and land right here on my plate, ready to eat. But I can't get the steak up there.
It's a shame. That would be nice.
I guess the takeaway is it's very easy to get really nihilistic really quickly with this topic. I think I'm just barely out of it. I've been nihilistic and this is a difficult thing for me to wrap my mind around. But I'm in the camp of like, I actively must prepare for this and teach my children to prepare for this. Going all the way back to like the homeschooling thing of like, okay, well, like I've got young kids that are going to be probably around like 18 when this happens. Like they're going to be young teenagers when the game starts. And like, what level of preparation am I going to teach them? If I'm wrong, that's cool. I'm quite ready to be like the crazy old man. If I'm wrong, I think I'm wrong about the timing. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I'd love to be wrong. I'd love to find the smoking gun here where it's like, oh, actually, this whole time I'm just crazy.
You'd love to be wrong directionally, as in it's probably going to happen, but it's not to you or your kids or your grandkids or your great grandkids or their great kids. There's a level of like, eventually you're like, oh, fuck them.
If it's going to happen, I want it to happen to me. Like, I don't like, let's not wait. Like, let's pull this Band-Aid off and get this train on the road. Like,
fair enough. Not for me.
Looking at the example that has been given to us by the boomers of like,
yeah, it's
okay, just kick the can down the road. Your descendants can deal with this. You don't have to worry about it. You just live your life, have some brewskis, and you're just going to have a good time. Don't worry about it. It's like, no, it's like we're done with that era of humanity.
You're like, bring it on. Can you just, if you are praying for it, like if you're like, just bring it on now, can you just sort of give me 5 years or something, just so I can just see my kids grow up a little bit, just have like that magical time, and then I can go and fight this, and at least they've lived some sort of life. Because the idea of 1,000-foot waves coming, famine and all that, it's been a hard couple of years. I could do with just like 5 nice years. So if you are praying for it, like Kerem is, like bring it on kind of stuff, just give it a little break.
You're going to have 5 good years. At least you're a Bitcoiner. Like Bitcoiners are the most well-placed people to be prepared for this as anybody else on the planet. Because like, what's going to happen in the time between now and this D-Day? It's like, oh, Bitcoin's going to eat their money. Like, that's not going to change just because the planet's ending. Bitcoin's going to win because it's the best technology available. These people who have depended, like Zuckerberg has to pay his electricity bill. What happens when he can't? Like, he's like, oh, well, I have somebody else is going to get to use his awesome bunker. It feels like this was indicated in many religious texts of like, at the last minute, the game board's going to get turned over.
Flipped, yeah.
Yeah. If you're stacking sats, if you're a person who is forward looking enough to realize that you need Bitcoin to protect yourself and your family, you have everything going for you that you could have going for you. You have the best starting point of anybody in the world right now, other than the demon lizards who are hidden this from us.
Yeah, the demon lizards.
The Satan pedophiles. It's like, yeah, they're out there. Don't be them. We're better than that.
Yeah, definitely.
God will protect us.
Yeah, and if you are a Bitcoiner and you are well positioned and the value of your currency does go up, also, like, don't be afraid to spend it on the shit that you're going to need. Like, don't be the hodler who's worrying about hitting a certain number and you've got a certain number in your head and I'm going to be worth this if it hits that. Have some preparation, have some tools, have a home, have some skills, be physically fit, teach your children what they need to do. When we talk about Bitcoin as being well positioned, I see that in areas of the Meshtadel. I see that in certain groups. But as a general term, in terms of Bitcoiner used to be like people who hold Bitcoin. That now is a lot more broad. And I do see a lot of Bitcoiners wouldn't survive a fucking cold. Like genuinely, like I look around at some of the people these days, like compared to 2017, 18, 19, those sort of periods. And they are soft as shit. Couldn't build something if they need to and couldn't survive something if they need to. So if you are one of those people and you listen to the pod, I would just say like invest some of your sats in yourself and your family and tools and knowledge and everything else, because the actual Bitcoin itself isn't going to save you. It's what you can do with the Bitcoin. And so just bear that in mind a little bit.
Like the worst thing that you can do is sit still.
Yes.
Like that ossification is death.
Yes.
It's like that's what the fiat world wants of us. Get to the point when you're comfortable enough, you've got the house, you've got the car, and you can just sit back. You're right. You know, you were right. You've invested correctly. You just sit back, just relax, entertain yourself to death. That's a very real danger for Bitcoiners. Like as all of us get exponentially wealthier, it's like don't get comfortable.
Don't stop.
Yeah, don't stop.
Yeah, I think so. I think, you know, you do see it. You get the Bitcoin derangement syndrome, you know, the people who are early, and they've done really well. And then there's like other groups of us who are like, life's got a bit easier and like we have some hope is kind of more what it is. And like not getting lost in that and not getting scroogey and thinking, I'm never selling these precious sats and all that kind of stuff. Like starting businesses, starting projects and learning skills and bettering yourself is really important. And I was guilty of the like, oh, I just want to stack as much as I can and not live life. And I do look back at like parts of my life and being like, fuck, you missed out there, mate. Like you should have, yeah, okay, you stacked some more sats, but you missed out. You should have gone on that trip or like gone and seen your friends at this point, or you should have gone and done this or that. Or like there are things where like you can't buy back memories, you can't buy back time, and like that's something to be cognizant of.
Yeah. If your goal is just stacking as much Bitcoin as possible, that sounds an awful lot to me. Like, why do you want that much Bitcoin? Oh, you want it so you can you want to get to a point where you can relax. It's like you're stacking so hard because you want to be done. You want to be just, all right, I'm done working. I can just sit back.
Yeah, I'm retired. Yeah.
No, you want to sit still and think that you've gotten to a point of success that, all right, like now the people can come to me to get their happiness. Harkens back to like what I'm trying to get away from with like what the boomers have done to us. What is your goal here? It's like, is your goal to just have a good life, or are we actively trying to make the world a better place? Feels an awful lot like, I mean, myself to some extent, like, I mean, we're just trying to entertain myself to death. Real things are happening. Like it's getting really difficult to live inside of like a little mental brain of like your mental world and like not have the actual world banging up against it. And it's like something like this of like, you're not going to get to my level of belief in it overnight, but just like one step at a time. Don't sit still on this. Why is Bitcoin an advantage? Bitcoin is an advantage because once you figure it out, you have an asymmetric advantage over people who haven't figured it out yet. This is the same thing with pull shift. It's like, this is a real thing. My belief is that this is a real thing. And the sooner that people add it to their processing stack, the sooner they can start making better decisions that will pay off better in the future. It's just the same kind of thing. Like you don't have to sell all your sats, buy like a citadel on top of a mountain and like just like hunkering down and going like full tinfoil hat. But like one step in that direction is like when you're going through hell, keep walking. Don't stop here. Like what are you working towards?
Yeah, no, that's good advice. Well, I will be looking more into this. None of it sounds crazy or unrealistic or any of that kind of stuff. So I am on board with the fact that something is coming at some point. I'm on board with the fact that there seems to be something around this 2030 date, which keeps coming up no matter what cataclysm, no matter what government psyop bullshit or like plan to have things done. 2030 seems to be a important date or year for some reason.
They want to have their system in place before the event.
Yeah.
That's my read of it. The Agenda 2030, like
exactly that.
Whatever this new system is, it's got to be in place before the event. Yeah.
Yeah. And so all of that does line up to something. And I do take it seriously to some degree. And we'll start thinking about, I think like a boat is a pretty good shout. Like if you can get, boats are fucking expensive. But like if you can get to that in the right spot, it's not a bad shout. A little Noah's Ark.
Yeah. There seems to be an awful lot of ancient stories about floods, global catastrophic floods, and somebody who was faithful surviving it.
Yeah. Okay, mate. Well, It's actually been really good fun. I've really enjoyed going through it, and I'm definitely going to look into some more stuff.
Fun. That's very kind of you to say it's fun.
Yeah, it has been fun. Like it's quite technical and scary stuff. Like it could easily be quite a down topic to talk about. Like, hey, there's gonna be 1,000-mile-an-hour winds and floods and stuff. But it's been fun. Like it's an interesting topic, and we've not gone about it in like a doomerish way. Like I think hopefully we've talked about it in like a hopeful way and like some planning. So I think people are going to enjoy it.
I am a glass half full kind of person, and I fully intend to survive this. If I can survive it, other people can survive it. You've got to develop your own map. Like if you're not operating off your own map, it's like you have to have your own Bitcoin node. If you're not operating on your own node, your own map, you're operating off somebody else's. So it's like, this is an area of sovereignty.
Yeah. Well, Business Cat, thank you so much for joining me, mate. It's good to finally have a conversation with you. I'd urge anyone who wants more information on this to reach out to Business Cat. We'll put the information in the show notes. Also, make sure to check out Rock Paper Bitcoin with Business Cat and Fundamentals. Get yourself down to the Central PA Bitcoin Meetups if you haven't already, and if you're in the area. And it's been fun, mate. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for having me, man.
All right. We'll speak soon. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed that. I loved speaking to Business Cat. What an interesting character. Definitely some food for thought. I don't know. I'm not smart enough to know if this pole shift has happened, will happen. Don't know, but certainly some compelling arguments in there. If you haven't already checked out his podcast, go and have a listen. And I think we're probably going to do another episode, maybe with him and me and Kerem. We might throw John in there as well, just for some grumpy old man stuff. Thanks again to everyone who's been supporting us. Questions, boosts, sats, XMR chats, just sharing it with friends and family. It all helps and it is appreciated. Thanks also to the incredible Ungovernable team, and we'll catch you on the next one.